I'm doing today is out of my comfort zone.
Big accountant with AF Ferguson.
What was your salary as a CA then?
This feeling that I'm in a golden cage. I will quit when she's 8. And that's what I did when she turned 8 in 2004. And at that time, I remember my boss and his boss trying to convince me.
Did you really find inner peace and mental health? So hi Krithika, welcome to the channel. I'm really excited to have you here. I think what I'm doing today is out of my comfort zone because I have not ever talked about mental health and inner peace, and that's really where I want this recording to go. But we'll start about yourself and your background. So tell me a little bit about what you did in the past. What have you studied as a student?
Thank you, Divya, for inviting me on this. It's a pleasure to have this discussion today. So I was educated in Mumbai. I went to school there to JB Vacha, which is one of the prominent girls' schools in Mumbai. After that, I did my commerce graduation BCom with Podar, which is again a pretty reputed college in Mumbai. And then I did my articleship and became a chartered accountant with AF Ferguson. AF Ferguson was back then the top and most reputed audit firm in Mumbai. They're now, of course, I think part of Deloitte, so the Big Four. So it was quite an exciting journey in that sense. It was a pretty rewarding time, studying well and doing well. So that's part of my educational background.
Okay, so give us a timeline. Which year did you finish chartered accountancy?
So I graduated in 1990 and I finished my chartered accountancy by 1993, which was also the same year that I got married. And yeah, so I started working after that with A.F. Ferguson in their consulting wing, and then with Arthur Andersen. And soon after that, around 1996, we had our first baby, and we were looking to move abroad, and we wanted to be NRIs and earn in dollars. So that's when Raman got a break with a bank in Singapore. So we soon after our first baby was born, we moved to Singapore. And yeah, the rest was, we've actually been abroad now for almost 22 years, and then came back to India about 8 years back.
Okay, so we'll take it one step at a time. So 93, you had your first job with Ferguson, and what was your salary as a CA then?
I think it was about 8,000 rupees, which sounds like pittance now, but it was a lot back then, So that's per month, yeah, in 1993.
And how stressful is this chartered accountancy first job? Because I hear the exams are crazy.
Yes, the exams are crazy, and but I think it just requires some commitment, dedication, and if you are, it also helps when you are working in a big firm and you have exposure to so much of audit and other. But yes, I think there's a lot of luck involved for sure, but hard work too. Yeah, and I was fortunate to pass in the first attempt both the inter and the final. I had to take two exams, like I had to repeat one more time. But yes, it was pretty smooth sailing in that sense.
I don't think anyone is lucky in chartered accountancy. I think the passing percentage is so low, and they give you what is 1.5 months of break to study for these crazy exams when people are doing, I think, 14, 15 hours a day just in libraries and things.
Yes, I think it helps when you are regular with the studies. I mean, if you're going to cram up in the last minute, it is difficult. But if you're, like I say, I was always a very committed, sincere, serious student. My daughters make fun. You're always a teacher's pet, sucking up to the teacher. But, so I used to have my timetables in place, or before the exams, I should have finished one round of everything, revised it, and be on top of it. So yes, it like I say, I think hard work and commitment pays off with a lot of luck, I suppose.
Okay, so 8,000 rupees in 93. And then when did you join Arthur Andersen?
Arthur Andersen was soon after, that was when the Big Four, the firms were coming into India. So they were obviously looking for people. So naturally, AFF, Ferguson being the top firm, they would come and they would poach. So that's how I joined Arthur Andersen in about 94. And end of 94, I think. And typically being a foreign company, so to speak, they doubled my salary. So I started getting about 15,000 rupees, which was a lot again, so it was a lot more stressful. Ferguson's a very nice, homely, old Indian setup, but suddenly Arthur Anderson was like a lot of glitz and glamour, and you had to like you really had to put up this thing of being a professional and handling. So yeah, it was different, and it was a little more stressful, but it was fun. So I was in the consulting wing of Arthur Anderson for about a year and a half, and after which I got pregnant. So I had to take some time off from work to deliver, and they were very nice, accommodating, gave me my leave. And but by the time we delivered, we had this opportunity to go to Singapore. So then I had to quit in Arthur Anderson and move to Singapore, which
Okay.
was like a nice, exciting phase. I was looking to now earn in dollars and see what I could do there. So
Okay. So did you move to Singapore and take up a job there?
I tried hard. It wasn't easy. With an Indian chartered accountancy degree, it wasn't really easy back then. So for 2 years, I struggled quite a bit. I did some part-time insurance work and some consulting here and there, but I wasn't really happy because I wanted a proper job. So for 2 years, I struggled. But then when the time comes, you just get the break. So I was lucky to get a job then with Citibank. And Citibank back then had a lot of Indians and in pretty senior positions. I think they still do abroad in most of the countries across the world. So they understand the significance of an Indian chartered accountant and the degree and what it brings and the knowledge that you come with. So I was pretty lucky that after 2 years, that I think around 98, I got a break in the finance department of Citibank in Singapore. It was very exciting times back then. Yeah.
And how old was your first child then?
She was born in 96, so she was just about two. And in fact, by 98, before I started work, after I went for the interview, and I came back and I found out I was pregnant with a second one. And I was so worried that I would not get this job that was looking so promising. But again, I think lucky is the word. My boss there said, "Oh, that's fine. You can deliver. You can finish your 3 months maternity and then join us." So they waited for me to join, and I was ever so grateful to them for that. So yeah, so we had two children, and in 98, I joined Citibank.
So your youngest one was some few months old when you joined Citibank?
Yes, she was actually, I started the job. They said they would give me my maternity after when I delivered. So I did start in February. She was born in September. And then I was back to work from 99 in earnest, January.
Okay, so how was it like managing two young children, a full-fledged chartered accountancy job at Citibank? What is that like in Singapore?
It was, again, I must say, I have been very lucky all my life. As I'm talking to you, I'm realizing just how wonderful life has been, because both Raman's parents and my parents were relatively young, free. They weren't working. Both the fathers weren't working. So they would come and they would be at home with us. So they lived with us. And 6 months a year, my in-laws would take care of the children. 6 months, my parents would take care. And of course, we had the helpers and the cooks. And so in terms of personal life, managing this was relatively easy. But career-wise, it was quite stressful because you're in finance, you have budgets to draw, and when the season comes up, technology was not as great as it is today. So we had to do a lot of manual spreadsheets and work. So we would work through the night till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And, Singapore is a safe place, but the job remunerated well. I mean, it gave you I had my own car and I had a team that was reporting to me. I was getting my promotions in time. I was being given my increments in time. And we managed to buy a house with a loan from the bank. So all those things made it worth the pressure or the stress, that comes with the job. Of course, the children were growing up and it wasn't easy, but having a set of doting grandparents at home to take care of them made all the difference. You would know that, right? Yeah.
Yes, I know that. Yes. Okay. So from 1998 onwards, what was your compensation like in Singapore?
Was about 8,000 Singapore dollars a month, I would think, if I
Okay.
remember. And
Okay.
we would get a bonus typically of 2 to 3 months salary as annual bonus. And Citibank was a very good employer. I mean, they would give us a lot of perks, lot of entertainment for the family. They would book halls, cinema halls just for the staff, and then there would be lunches and barbecues and picnics on the beach. And so, yeah, they were a good employer to work with. So
Okay. So in theory, it sounds great, but the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. doesn't sound good at all to me. I mean, it sounds like you're ruining your health. Is that true? Or
back then, when you're young, when you're ambitious, when you're earning well, you're only looking at what it is bringing for you. And you are healthy, right? Youth
yeah.
comes with a lot of health. You don't really worry about how it's ruining your health. It's only much later when you become a little more mature and when age catches up that you realize the actual value of health. Back
Mhm.
then, I was, like I said, I was traveling to a lot of countries because I was in charge of the finance for the Asia Pacific. So I would go to a lot of Far East countries, travel on work, live in some of the best hotels, have some of the best meals, and be treated so well by the staff there. So the glamour and the glitz of life was such. I don't think I thought too much about what it was doing to my health.
Okay.
So yeah,
How
that was.
long in at Citibank then? How many years?
Um, I worked for about 8 years because the interesting thing is while I said all that I said about the setup being so nice, my older daughter was very unhappy. She would keep crying that she wanted me at home. And when she was about 4 or 5, I remember that's when we had the mobile phones had begun, and so
Mhm.
I would be at work in those conference calls, the country conference calls, and would come out of the conference room and I would see 20 missed calls from home. And you know how the stomach churns, you were like, well, what happened? It would be my daughter crying, I want you home. I want you to be at home. For a 5-year-old, she would ask a very I thought questions that were beyond her age. She would say, why do you have to go to work? Is daddy not making enough money? Your mother was at home for you. Why should my mother not be at home for me? All those kind of questions. So we
Yeah.
thought we could bribe the kids out, take them on Sundays to the office. We were on the 33rd floor. And they said, make them sit on the swivel chairs and draw and paint and, enjoy. They enjoyed it, but she would come back and Monday morning she would be crying again. I want you at home.
Yeah.
So I think somewhere along the way, and also one thing that happened to me when I was working, like you said, late nights, was this feeling that I'm in a golden cage. It's all
Mm.
very nice, but I felt like I didn't have freedom. It is difficult to explain even to myself because I mean when you're tired, you take a break, you go for a holiday, you travel, you see countries, all that is there. But still this feeling at the back that I'm in a cage. I'm not in charge of my time and my life. um, but then you think, okay, but that's how it is. If you have to make money, you have to compromise on something. This is it.
Mm.
One time I remember we were in a country conference call and we were discussing the performance of these countries, and the CFO, the financial officer of the country, she was saying how she was going to take 2 days off for her daughter's marriage, but she would come back in 2 days and make sure that the results stayed good then, because Citibank was quite an aggressive organization, very particular about results. And I remember coming out of that meeting saying, 2 days for the daughter's wedding, and that
Yeah.
too she's pleading like she's like we are doing her a favor. Is this what I want of my life? So that thought also started kind of chewing and growing inside of me while my older daughter was creating all the fuss. So I think somewhere along that time, I thought, I don't think I'm going to work all my life. I think I'll quit when my older one turns 8. I've always had this thing, Divya, this inner voice, I would call it. Sometimes it would come every now and then when decisions had to be made. This inner voice would come that will tell me exactly what to do. And I know I have to follow that. There was no doubting that. So it said, I will quit when she's 8. And that's what I did. When she turned 8 in 2004, I quit my job at Citi.
Isn't it ironic? I mean, your daughter is now old enough to eat on her own, to sleep on her own, probably cry much less. But isn't that ironic?
It is, and I think it was all for the best, obviously. When I think back now, I feel so grateful to her. I said, if it wasn't for you, I would have never thought of quitting that job, and I would have never realized what life has in store for me, subsequently. So I am ever so grateful that she did what she did, and I quit. At that time, it seems like, you're wondering what you are doing, but I think life always has a wonderful plan if you just learn to go with it and let it unravel.
So, which year did you finally quit?
So I quit in 2004 in around June, I think. And at that time, I remember my boss and his boss trying to convince me to stay, saying, you're earning so much, you're earning as much as any breadwinner does in Singapore. You're like supporting, you can support the whole house. And you're saying you want to quit to stay at home? Like, I mean, if you're taking another job, we understand. So I tried working from home, but back then again, it wasn't easy. We didn't have Zoom and those video conferences like we do now. All we had was a audio conference system. And in a finance role, it's very difficult when you're coordinating with countries. It's very difficult to just be talking on the phone. And they typically back then, now the world has changed. The working from home is usual. But back then, they think you're just having fun at home and you're just coming out to the calls just to show that you are around. So it was even more stressful working from home than I thought it would be going to work. So it didn't work. So finally, I think November 2004, I just quit the job totally and I was at home after that.
Okay. So what was that transition like? Did you regret it the first few months, or did you feel great, I don't have to get up and go? Or
I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. It felt like that cage, somebody had opened opened the gate of that cage and let me out, because I just enjoyed. I would go for coffee with a book at 10 a.m. on a weekday. I would go grocery shopping at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, saying, I'm free now to do whatever I want to do with my life. So I didn't regret it even for a moment. I mean, my husband was worried. I had friends who would tell me, you're doing all this, but you'll get bored so soon. But it never happened. Till today, I don't think I ever regretted quitting my job at the time that I did.
Okay, so you don't regret quitting your job. I totally believe you. Do you still enjoy grocery shopping and going coffee and just sitting and relaxing? Are you still able to do that 20 years later?
Absolutely. I mean, it may not be grocery shopping or but reading a book for sure. I love sitting in the balcony and reading a book, or I like to go for walks. And to Bangalore is a beautiful place, lots of parks. So I do like to enjoy my time and feel, that freedom. I don't know what you can call, but the feeling of being totally content, that there's no, you choose to do what you want to do with your life. And this moment, I'm very happy doing this, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So now you've quit your job, your daughter is 8 years old, you have the time. What happened after that? How did you really find inner peace and mental health?
So it was initially, it was just the joy of being free, of being able to do what you want with your time. And at that time, Raman started doing quite well also. So we then moved to Indonesia as expatriates. So, an expat life is wonderful because you get a house from the bank, you get a good car, people to help. So I started enjoying that, enjoying the frills of expat life. So in Indonesia, there weren't too many Indians, so it was a you would get together and you would meet people, and there wasn't too much else to do. So it would all be about shopping and dining and lunch and friends and parties. And for 2 years, I was doing that, reveling in that thing. It was fun while it lasted, but again, this feeling came from within that is this what I want to do with my life? I mean, is this really what I'm here for? So we were in Indonesia for about 2 years, enjoyed that thoroughly. Then Raman, we moved to Dubai, and actually, when we were in Singapore itself, before I quit, I got the chance to do the Art of Living Happiness program, which I did, and I practiced the Sudarshan Kriya for a while. But like it is with everything in life, after a point, you're like, my work's important, my career, my children, my home, my this, that. So the Kriya took a back seat, and I forgot all about Art of Living and everything with it till we moved to Dubai. When we moved to Dubai, I had a friend who was an Art of Living teacher. She insist that I come back and I practice and I get back into the group. And I hated her for it. She was like, oh, I found her totally like a pest. But as you know, as it happened, I would go in just for her sake. Sometimes when you have taken a break from something wonderful and you go back, you realize what it is you had missed.
Okay.
So that's what happened when we went to Dubai. Pretty soon after we moved to Dubai, actually, I got back into Art of Living, and that was, I think, the turning point of my life. So everything changed after that. And yeah,
Which year did you move to Dubai?
we moved to Dubai in 2008.
2008. And pretty much 2008, 2009, you got involved with Art of Living.
2008, I resumed slowly. By
Okay.
2009, I think I was a little more ready to deep dive. So that's when I started coming to the Bangalore International Center from Dubai. So I would fly down to try out the courses, the silence course, the various things they had, and that's, I think, when I got really seriously into Art of Living
Okay.
and the
So
journey.
what does it mean to do a kriya or a Sudarshan kriya? What does it really mean? What does it give you?
Okay. So, like I said, and we all know this, life is full of stress all the time. The one common word, regardless of age, regardless of occupation, is stress, right? So, stress happens because the mind is clogged with a lot of emotions, with a lot of worry, and you don't know how to get rid of it. It is impossible to get rid of something from the mind at the level of the mind. You can't tell the mind, okay, stop it. Now don't be stressed. It's all right. Drop it. Be happy. It doesn't happen. So you need a tool to manage the mind. And that I learned through the Art of Living is the breath. So when you work with the breath, you learn to manage the mind. When you manage the mind, you automatically realize that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you find a beautiful rhythm, you find a pattern, and then that slowly takes you into a very beautiful state of being. You feel a lot more peaceful, a lot more happy, your priorities change, perspectives change, and life starts becoming so much more enjoyable.
Okay. How long does it take to perform a kriya?
The Kriya takes about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
That is the basic starting point. After that, it's up to you how much you want to explore. I mean, if you want to do yoga, that's another 45 minutes. You want to do some meditation after that, another 20 minutes. So you could spend from as little as 20 minutes to about 2.5, 3 hours a day, or even more, with what we call these practices or sadhana.
Okay. So you said great things, right? You said everybody's life is full of stress. It's true. Everybody is living a life where they wish they could change a little bit. Like, I wish I could eat healthier, right? I wish I could focus solely on something that if I'm doing this recording, I wish I could just focus on it. I always remember and I even tell my children this, right? It's said in the Mahabharata that when Arjun raised his bow, he could only see the eye. It's his focus. It's nothing else. If you can focus on something amazing, right? But I don't want to quit my job and I don't want to change certain factors. So help the audience, help me, help everyone. How do we bring about this calmness to the mind so that we can focus on whatever we want to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would not tell anyone to quit their job, honestly. No. Why should one? In my case, it was different because there were all these pressures that I explained. But one doesn't need to quit their job to feel the peace, not at all. The whole idea of these the breath work, what Art of Living teaches, is that just to maintain that balance in life, because we're all you know is money important? Of course, it's important. It's very important. But if it's only money that's important, then there's a problem. That's when the stress starts, or you want to maintain a particular level, or you want to hold on to what you have. So when you get into that, then stress starts in life. But if you learn to take it easy, it'll come. It sounds like a lot of people, when I tell this to my brother, he says, just because you've done it, you're saying it. But it's true that when you stop focusing on that and you start focusing on other things that enrich life, you will notice that along with happiness comes abundance also. So when we started, like when I remember in Dubai, we had a lovely big home, and we started doing the kriyas at home. And like I said, like you were saying also, that everyone is so stressed. So they love to take that break. They'll come home, whether it's a weekend for those who are working, early morning on weekends. For those who are not working, we would do it during the day. They would come, they would do some kriya, they would do some, we would listen to some beautiful wisdom. Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar has spoken on a lot of topics. I mean, an absolute variety of topics. So we would listen to some of those video, knowledge sessions. Everybody would bring a dish each, and we would all eat. And suddenly you realize that you are passing time, but you're not gossiping, you're not comparing, you're not looking at who is more successful, who is less successful, but you're doing something that's uplifting everyone's spirits. So at the end of those 2 hours, you're feeling so good, and you're going home feeling light and happy, and you're ready to come back. So that's all it takes. It's not that you have to quit something to get something. Just learn to get that balance in life.
Okay.
And the other thing I realized when we were doing this was that if you can focus a little bit on others, on seeing how you can contribute. Otherwise, when we are working, when we are children, it's my children, my career, my job, my home, my this, my that. When you stop that my, and you start looking a little bit at how can I help someone else, but there's so many people, I'm not stressed anymore. Let's see if I can help some of them. So when you start that, when the thinking starts into how can, so we used to go to labor camps in Dubai. We would, during winter, we would distribute jackets and warm clothing. During summer, we would give them drinks and juices, packed food, things like free haircuts for them, because everyone was well to do. So they a little bit of contribution around, and then we could do that. So when you start doing things like that and you see the joy that someone else is getting, a portion of it comes back to you. So that's how that focus shifted from how can I be happy to how can I be of use to some people around me. And automatically that will you will notice that it brings that contentment. And with the contentment comes the abundance. I mean, it just follows. You don't have to look. Gurudev says a very beautiful thing. He says, if you chase the Lakshmis, they will run away. But if you're chasing Narayana, that is peace, joy, fulfillment, they will follow him. They will come to you. So I think that is very true. You do something for the world, and things just come back to you.
Okay, Kritika. So you talked so much about balance in your life. So tell me a way that there's this person out there, he or she has two kids, a full-time job, is stressed in his or her life, stressed because of EMIs and all the work he or she has to do. How can he or she maintain a nice, balanced life that you talk about?
So there are a few tools, that one can implement. Firstly, it is meditation. Of course, the kriya. If for those who have learned the Sudarshan kriya, some breath work. for sure, meditation is one of the most important tools to maintain that balance in life. Second thing is just a change in perspective and outlook, where one starts being contented. This confidence that I will get what I'm supposed to get in life. Whatever is due to me will come to me. I don't have to run for it, scramble for it. It will come to me. So that is the second thing, I think, practicing. And these are practices. They're not just going to happen themselves. We have to make an attempt to incorporate them in life. So the second I would think is contentment. Third, I would think is gratitude. I mean, we've been given so much in life. We could choose to look at all that we've got and feel grateful for it, or look at the few things that we don't have, which someone else has, and feel the lack. And it is said that where your mind goes, it grows. So if you want to look at reasons to feel grateful, there'll be more and more reasons to feel grateful. And if you're going to look at lack, there's just going to be more of lack that is going to become obvious. So that is another thing. And then I would say seva, like I keep saying, some kind of selfless service to anybody. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can be just, giving a shoulder to listen to someone when they are upset, or bringing people onto the path of meditation and knowledge, spending some time with people, encouraging them, uplifting them. These days, people are so distressed and lonely. So, creating that network within the community wherever possible. And the last thing I would say is satsang, or company of the truth, as it is said. In the sense, it is said in Kali Yuga, one can't make the journey alone. It has to be in a group. It is said, Sange Shakti Kali Yuge. So finding a group of like-minded people, meet maybe once a week, get the children as well, so that maybe discuss a book, read the Bhagavad Gita, sing some bhajans, or see how you can, get some good recipes, have some food festivals where you get healthy. So various things that uplift people, bring the children into the path of knowledge and healthy living, and build a network where you are doing something that is keeping everyone around happy and uplifted. So I think these are things one can do fairly easily. You don't have to commit to too much time or money or effort for this. So I think that should work. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree. No, so okay. So you have not just done kriya or yoga, but you've done these extended sessions on one vrat where you don't talk to anybody, you switch off your phone, and you're sort of shut out the world just for a few days and then you come back. What does that really give you? Because to me that sounds very difficult. So what does that give you?
See, when you say Mount Vrat, it seems like a very stern thing to do, like it's like a vow of silence. So this is not that. This is, we do what we call the silence course or the advanced course in the art of living, where you are just not talking, you are doing everything. You're doing yoga, you're doing your kriya, you're watching videos, you are doing a lot of seva, as we call it, as in helping in the kitchen or cleaning things, but you're just not talking. So the in that process, what happened initially, I also thought was very difficult, especially because I'm a person who talks a lot. So I used to think, how am I going to do that? But it comes naturally, because then you realize that words are not just to fritter away, they are to communicate. So use them wisely when you need to communicate. And when you're in silence, a lot of energy is actually conserved. You'll notice that you feel a lot less tired and you have a lot more time for yourself. So you sit and you think about your life, what you're doing, what is it you're looking for, what is it that is missing. And I also must give you this one example. When I used to be one of, having been brought up in Mumbai and fighting for those local trains and taking your elbows into people and jumping to the train. So I've always been one of those who will crowded restaurants. You learn to find your way to the counter and get your order. And but suddenly I was here in the silence course in the ashram. I can't talk. And there was this little counter. I wanted to have my coffee, my afternoon coffee. And I had it written on a piece of paper, coffee, because you can't speak. You have to show it to the vendor. And there were so many people, elbowing and fighting for it. And then you wonder, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So after a point, I gave up and I said, okay, I'll wait and see what happens. When do I get my turn? Within a few minutes, the person at that counter said, Didi, आप आओ. आप इतने quietly खड़े हो शांत से. आप दिखाओ आपको क्या चाहिए. So I showed him my chit and coffee and he gave me the coffee and he says, काश सब लोग आपके जैसे होते तो कितना अच्छा होता. And here I was suddenly like, oh, I've like become a model for this. I couldn't believe, but it made me realize that you don't need to fight and shout and scream to get things. It will happen. So that was the turning point, I think, to realize that when you're in silence, you come out wondering, why do I need to talk other than just the basic communication with people? So it's a very beautiful, it's not Maun Vrat, so to speak, but it's a very beautiful process of being with yourself and seeing how it is to speak as little as needed. So
How
nice.
many days is this course?
You have options. You can do about 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. So
And
up to you.
how many have you done?
How many courses and all? I
No,
would
how
have
many
done.
days of not talking have you
The max
stretched
I
it
have
to?
done is 7 days,
Okay.
but I go very often. So I've done almost 40, 45 of these courses in the last few years.
And does your sleep or your eating habits or your flexibility and all that, does it become better with things like this?
Of course, 100%. Otherwise, how would you sustain, right? See, most of it, the mind is controlling the entire body and the system, right? So when the mind is peaceful, when the mind is happy, automatically the immunity improves and automatically your energy levels, you will find so much of energy, so much of enthusiasm for life, so much of like I said, contentment. So yes, your awareness on food. What am I eating? How much am I eating? Do I need to eat so much? So I lost a lot of weight in that process. I used to go to the gym when I was in city. Then I switched to yoga when I came to Art of Living. And as you said, that's when the realization of the importance of health slowly dawns in you that it's important to keep all your joints in a good working condition. You are necessary to eat food that the stomach can digest soon. And yeah, so a lot of those. And then we have the holistic cooking programs as well in our. So the whole household shifted to steamed, cooked, tasty food. When you say steamed, people think bland without masalas. No, it's just that the way you cook is more nutritive and it's very nice. It's more healthy. So yes, yeah. In fact, when I first started on the Art of Living journey, I had to convince my children, come on, do it, you do, you come, you do. My husband and everyone around. Over time, you realize as you do, and as they see the change in you, they will automatically come and do it. So yeah, that's what happens when it's something that uh, filters to the whole family. The good regime, the health, the enthusiasm, vibrations, the happy energy. When people come home, the moment they come and they say, "Your house is such a beautiful energy." And I tell them, yes, because we do kriya so many times a week here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is not only felt by the family, but people around as well.
So a lot of people, right, when they hear about these things, they say that it's only for the people who can afford it. It's only for the ones who can, not just with the money, but also with the time, both time and money. So what do you have to say about something like that?
It is true to a certain extent because, like Gurudev says, unless your cup is full, how can you fill someone else's? If you are struggling to make two ends meet, it's unlikely that you're going to be in the state where you have time to do all this. And having said that, it doesn't require too much of money or yes, time, and the course is very reasonable. Anybody can afford it. We spend much more on restaurants and coffees and bills these days than on the course, but we have to understand the importance of this. So yes, I mean, sure that you do need a little bit of money and you do need a little bit of time, not too much, just enough, which most people I think have. The question is whether having had that money and the time, are you able to invest it correctly in the right options? Yes.
Okay.
So
No,
yeah.
please finish.
No, so I'm saying that yes, you do. And if you want to do a lot of, like I said, we were lucky that Raman was doing well and we were able to do all these things. But there are so many people who are financially able to, but they're not happy. They're not doing it. They are stressed. So yes, and when you have the basic, as long as you have a home, you are eating well, you have clothes to wear, your children are taken care of, I think you can definitely afford to do this. So
Okay.
it doesn't require.
Okay, so nowadays there are so many ashrams and so many practices running parallel everywhere, not just the urban cities or the big cities, but I think everywhere. So, what do you feel about these different processes, different organizations and setups? Do you think they're all the same? They're all different? What's your take on it?
Well, obviously they're all different, but I think the essence is the same. The teachers the gurus come in different forms. It's like Gurudev says, it's like the when you go to an ice cream parlor, you may like strawberry flavor, I will like chocolate. The basic ingredient is the same. It's just that the flavoring of chocolate and strawberry makes it. So they come in different forms, in different ways. They teach you different methodologies, but to achieve the same goal. So I think all that one needs to do is pick on one. I mean, unless you're lucky enough, most of us are lucky enough to be chosen. Then we arrive in a particular place. You're sitting in a course. You watch yourself in that course. Give it its due. Give it,
Yeah.
Gurudev says 18 months. So if you can spend 18 months practicing what is being taught to you there, you will see how it changes your life. And after that, if you don't find a change, he says, move on, go to the next one. But
Okay.
I believe that when you are sincere, committed again, the universe will just take you there. When there is a genuine prayer from within that I want to change my life, I want to become happy and I want to make others happy, the universe will find a way to do that for you.
Okay. So, how do I get mental stability and inner peace without joining any organized institution? If you had to advise somebody on that, what would be your advice?
I think it is very difficult to do. It's like saying, how about I want to become a Olympic swimming champion, but I won't take coaching from anybody.
Okay.
Or I want to be the number one in tennis, but I will not have a coach. It's not possible, right? Even for something as simple as playing the piano or learning swimming or studying, you need a teacher, you need a guide. And when here we are talking about something, it's a path that no, we have no clue how to go on, where it leads, what is happening. For sure, you need a teacher. So I would not advise anyone to go on books and all these Google and find out how to do spiritual practices. Certainly not. A guru is very, very important in life. I mean, if you take a minute to see, they say even Rama, Krishna, who are all considered avatars, had gurus. All of them had gurus. Just to say that you need a guru in life if your intent is to pursue the spiritual practice.
Okay. And what would you say to somebody who says, I'm a non believer? I don't believe there's anything beyond this world. What is your advice to that person?
Absolutely fine. I mean, it's like absolutely fine. You follow what your heart tells you. So if you think you don't believe, that's fine. I believe. So if you along the way find that there are things you're not able to do, someone else is able to do, I like, it's a very simple thing. When you go and eat some Chinese food, you like it and you want to find out the recipe how to make it. You don't say, oh, I'm Indian, I don't eat Chinese, right? So if you find that something works for you, you like some music that works for you. Oh, you don't mind whether it's jazz or whether it is Bollywood or it. So anything. So there is no question of belief or non-belief. If you find that something is useful in life, adopt it. But if you choose not to adopt it for whatever reason, concept that you have, that's fine. That's your choice. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well said. Okay. So, after having spoken for a few minutes for sure, what is the one thing I should have asked you and I have not? Like anything that you want to share? Any last minute advice, tips, or anything about your life?
Yes, in the sense that i- for those of us who think that this life is very short, it is said that life is eternal. So it's not going to end here. It's going to go on a lot longer. So here's your chance to to do what you need to do right now. And for those of us who think that life, oh my God, life is so long, so arduous, you need to know that life is very short. It can end any time. So I think life is all about paradox, opposites. So the sooner we realize that, the sooner we embrace the opposites, embrace life as a whole. I think that's, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but I just thought of that.
Okay, you did. You did. Okay, I want to ask you one more question. So you mentioned, right, without a coach, you can't become an Olympic gold medalist or you can't even participate in the Olympics. But see, with mental health, a lot of people say, I just want to achieve some kind of steady state or equilibrium. I don't really want to be an Olympic player. Is that possible on your own?
Oh yes, oh yes. On your own, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I my own journey has been such that I used to search. I used to wonder. At one point, I thought Hinduism and religion wasn't for me. So the Buddhism works because they are so, casual. So when you're searching, you are still looking, finding, and not sure whether you've got it. And as I said, life is short. So when you have someone who can straight take you to the important facets, can straight take you to what makes the game work, why not, right? You save time, you save effort. So I would say it's always better to have a guru or a coach on this path. You
And
can
is
do
this,
it
go
yourself, it
ahead,
will
sir.
just take longer. I think it just takes longer, and you will, yeah, yeah, you will take much longer, I think.
So you mentioned meditation. Does praying count as meditation?
Does what count as meditation?
Does praying, people pray every day and they
Oh,
count it as
sure.
meditation. Is that
Sure,
is
it
that
does. Except that in prayer, again, we are asking. So it's when we say meditation, it is coming to a state of complete withdrawing from the outside world and just being with ourselves. So prayer can lead to meditation, but meditation by itself is like basically training the mind to be accepting of everything that is happening. It's strengthening the mind.
okay? And you think this coach should be for life, or is it just through the learning journey?
It depends. I think it's something that will happen naturally, organically. You start with your coach or your teacher, and when you feel fulfillment, when you feel that it's just coming and it's coming and it's coming, then you know you're in the right place. And
Okay.
if you feel that no, I'm not, I'm not so happy here, then maybe after giving it its due, you can move on to somebody else. But I think most times, like I said, if you're sincere, the universe works with you to make it
Okay.
happen.
Nicely said.
I wanted to share one more thing, Divya, one last
Sure.
thing. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, before we go, because I realized we spoke so much, but it's a fact that, and it's ironic that we've seen our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, so many elders go through this journey of life, but we don't quite learn, in the sense that we've seen them go through the inevitabilities, which is old age, disease, death, and yet, for some reason, we think we are not going to be affected by all that. We don't seem to realize that it is something everyone, like when you ask me about health, when you're young, you think you are invincible because you're in perfect health. But as you become older, so when we see others, we learn things like estate management and planning and insurance and saving for the future, but we don't think of mind management. Someday the body is going to fail. Someday faculties are not going to be as sharp as this. Some days, financially, you may have all the money, but you will have to have the ability to make rational decisions. You might have to depend on your children. You might have to depend anything, right? Different things. So we see elders who become skeptical or they become cynical. There are few who are happy, but what we don't seem to learn is that most important in all this is the mind, because that's going to be the same. The body may falter, the body may drop at some point, but it's the mind that's going to take us across. So mind management, I think, is very, very important as we grow older. So that is something everyone should start working, and more so these days with children, because we see so much of mental illnesses affecting the youngsters. In the in the European countries, we've seen loneliness being a problem. So when you're in meditation, when you're in these practices, you never feel alone. You never feel alone. You just feel so full. So I think that's a very key learning. I would say everyone should start on the path of meditation so that you can then manage your old age much better than
Okay,
what.
what you actually said brings me to another question. In your practice, or now that you've been involved with art of living for so long, do you feel it's more men who come towards this or more women, or is it one group that needs it more than the other?
Oh, not at all. I think everybody needs it. Everybody needs it.
Okay.
You do see a lot of men coming into it. There are a lot of women. And nowadays, strangely, there are lots of youngsters who come. They are still studying. They are in university and they have already started practicing meditation. And if you go to our Art of Living ashram, you will see young doctors sitting there and doing seva and, engineers and all the projects that we do. So I don't think there's any gender bias or age for this. Everybody needs the. So you across the globe you see everybody will be coming in for at some point when they realize the significance.
Okay. Anything else you want to share? Because I think you've come up with some really good insights.
Yeah, no, this is the main thing that we don't seem to realize how important. In fact, one very beautiful quotation of Gurudev I'd like to share before we end maybe. He says, strong mind can take a weak body across life, but a strong body cannot take a weak mind across the ocean of life. So I think it's very, very important to realize how critical managing the mind is in today's world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I hope everyone has both a strong body and a strong mind, really. That
Absolutely.
would be my wish for everyone.
Yes. And it's possible. We just have to work on it.
Sure, sure. Okay. Lovely talking to you, Krithika. Thank you so much, really, for joining me.
Same here, Divya. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.